Look who triggered a war without even showing up. Hello, beautiful phantoms. Hello, silent storms. Hello to the ones who left so completely that even your absence became a presence they can't escape. Welcome back to the frequency where your name alone causes static, where your memory starts fights, where people who've never even met you are picking sides in battles you didn't start. They're arguing about you, full-blown, voices raised, friendship-ending arguments. And here's the beautiful, twisted part. You're not even there. You're not in the room. You're not in the group chat. You're not on their timeline. You're gone, deleted, moved on, evolved past their entire reality. And yet somehow, you're the only thing they can talk about. Let me paint you the picture. Because I know you've heard the whispers, felt the energy shift, seen the screenshots forwarded by people who still care enough to keep you informed. There are actual humans, grown adults with bills and responsibilities, sitting in coffee shops, in living rooms, in comment sections at 3 in the morning, fighting about you. Not with you, about you. Debating your character like you're some unsolved case file. Dissecting your motives like you're a conspiracy theory. Defending you to people who never knew you. Attacking you to people who miss you. And the wildest part, half of these people never even had a real conversation with you. They know you through stories, through rumors, through that one time they saw you at a party. Through second-hand mythology that's been twisted and retold so many times the truth is unrecognizable. You want to know why this is happening? Because you became the ghost that haunts their comfort. But you didn't just leave. You ascended. You didn't just move on. You transformed into something they can't categorize, can't control, can't predict. And now, your name is a test. Say your name in a room and watch how fast people reveal themselves. Watch how the energy splits. Watch how alliances form and collapse based on nothing but perception. You're not a person anymore. You're a mirror. And every opinion they have about you is just a reflection of who they are. The ones defending you, they see strength in your silence. The ones attacking you, they're terrified of your freedom. The ones who can't stop bringing you up, obsessed with the fact that you proved escape was possible. Here's what really happened. You didn't play their games anymore. You stopped participating in the performance. You stopped caring about being understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You walked away from the stage, took off the costume, deleted the script, and started writing your own story in a language they can't read. And that unforgivable act of self-liberation, that's what started the arguments. Because your absence is louder than most people's presence. Because your silence says more than their essays of explanation. Because you proved that walking away doesn't make you weak, it makes you untouchable. And that's the part they can't forgive. They needed you to suffer when you left. They needed you to come back begging. They needed your exit to validate their decision to stay. But you didn't suffer, you didn't beg, you didn't even look back. So now they fight. They fight about whether you were ever real or just really good at pretending. They fight about whether you owe them closure or whether they owe you apologies they'll never give. They fight about whether you were the problem or whether the problem was that you were the only one brave enough to name the dysfunction. They fight about who hurt who first, who said what when, who deserves sympathy, and who deserves silence. And the entire time, the entire screaming spiral of accusation and defense, you're nowhere. You're building a new life in a new city with new people who don't know your origin story. You're healing in ways that don't require an audience. You're becoming someone so different from who they remember that even if they saw you tomorrow, they wouldn't recognize the frequency you're operating on now. Let's go deeper into what's really happening here, because this isn't just drama. This is psychological warfare you didn't even declare. Every argument about you is actually an argument about them. When they defend you, they're defending their own choice to question the narrative. When they attack you, they're attacking the part of themselves that wishes they had your courage. When they can't stop mentioning you, they're advertising their obsession with the one person who stopped needing their validation. You broke the unspoken rule, the one that says you're supposed to stay small so they can feel big, supposed to stay broken so they can feel healed, supposed to stay visible so they can monitor whether you're winning or losing the game they're still playing. Here's the part that's really twisting the knife. You're not even trying. You're not posting cryptic quotes about them. You're not subtweeting. You're not playing the victim or the villain. You're just living quietly, powerfully, authentically. And that authentic existence is so threatening to people who are still performing that they have to create a version of you to argue about. They can't fight the real you because the real you is unreachable, untouchable, uninterested in their circus. So they fight a ghost, a memory, a projection of who you used to be mixed with who they need you to be to justify their choices. They argue about a version of you that doesn't exist anymore, maybe never existed, while the real you is out here becoming unrecognizable even to yourself. And you know what the most beautiful part is? Every argument they have is free promotion. Every time your name leaves their mouth, they're reminding everyone that you exist, that you mattered, that you had enough impact to still be causing ripples long after you dropped the stone and walked away. They think they're diminishing you, but they're actually building your mythology. They think they're exposing you, but they're actually revealing themselves. They think they're moving on, but they can't stop looking back at the space you used to occupy, wondering how someone can be so gone and yet so present at the same time. That's the power of a clean exit. When you leave without burning bridges, without final speeches, without needing the last word, you become impossible to pin down. Now let me tell you what's happening in their heads, the ones who bring you up constantly. They're addicted to the chaos you represented. Your presence, even in memory form, gives them something to focus on besides their own stagnation. The ones who defend you viciously, they see in you the permission they're too scared to give themselves. You're their proof that breaking free is possible. The ones who attack you relentlessly, they're terrified that if people start questioning the narrative about you, people might start questioning them too. You're the crack in their carefully constructed facade, and the ones who stay silent but listen to every word, they're the most dangerous because they're studying you, learning from your moves, planning their own escape and using your blueprint. So here you are, existing in multiple timelines simultaneously. In their timeline, you're the chaos, the mystery, the unfinished story they can't stop rewriting. In your timeline, you're healed, evolved, building something beautiful that has nothing to do with anyone from your past. You're Schrodinger's villain, simultaneously guilty and innocent depending on who's telling the story. And the uncertainty is what keeps the arguments going. There's no resolution because you're not there to provide one. There's no closure because closure requires conversation and you've removed yourself from the dialogue entirely. They're left with fragments, with interpretations, with half-truths and whole lies, and they're fighting over which version is real when the only real version is the one you're living right now, alone, at peace, unreachable. Let's talk about the anatomy of these arguments, because they follow a pattern. Someone mentions you, just drops your name like a grenade in casual conversation. Maybe they saw something that reminded them of you. Maybe they're feeling nostalgic. Maybe they're stirring the pot because they're bored. Immediately the room splits. Person A jumps to your defense. Person B starts listing your crimes. Person C tries to be neutral and ends up pissing everyone off. Person D brings up something from 2 years ago that barely anyone remembers, and Person E just sits there silently, realizing they never really knew you at all, just knew the story everyone told about you. And people they start sitting you, and it escalates, voices get louder, old wounds reopen, alliances get tested, and by the end of it, nothing is resolved, no one's mind is changed, and your name is now associated with tension for the next 3 months. But here's what they don't realize. Every argument about you is a ritual, a ceremony where they gather to process the fact that someone actually got out. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a concept, a case study, a cautionary tale, or an inspiration depending on the perspective. You represent the possibility of transformation, the danger of authenticity, the consequences of choosing yourself over collective comfort, and that's why they can't stop. It's not really about you. It's about what you represent, the terrifying, beautiful truth that you don't have to stay in spaces that drain you. Don't have to explain yourself to people who wouldn't understand anyway. Don't have to perform for an audience that was never truly watching, just waiting for you to fail. And the most insane part, some of these arguments are happening in places you've never even been, cities you've never visited, group chats you're not in, conversations between people you've never met. Your name has become a traveling story, passed from mouth to mouth like folklore, each person adding their own interpretation, their own bias, their own projection. Someone who knew you is now an expert on your character. Someone who saw you once at a distance is now testifying about your intentions. Someone who hated you from afar is now writing essays about your flaws, and someone who loved you quietly is defending you to strangers who have no context. You've become urban legend, the one who got away, the one who changed the game, the one who proved that walking away in silence is more powerful than any dramatic exit. So what does this mean for you? Absolutely nothing. That's the point. You don't live in their arguments. You don't exist in their debates. You don't reside in their memories of who you used to be. You exist here, now, in this moment, in this new version of yourself that they'll never meet, never understand, never get to argue about because they don't have access. You've moved beyond reach, beyond explanation, beyond the need to be understood by people who see you through filters of their own unresolved trauma. And that's the ultimate freedom. Not needing to set the record straight, not needing to defend your choices, not needing to prove anything to anyone, because your peace is proof enough. Let them argue, let them debate your morals, your motives, your methods. Let them analyze every word you ever said and find hidden meanings that were never there. Let them create versions of you that fit their narrative, paint you as hero or villain depending on their needs. Let them stay up late dissecting your departure, theorizing about where you are now, wondering if you ever think about them. Let them fill rooms with your name, fill hours with speculation, fill their minds with questions you'll never answer. Because while they're busy arguing about the ghost, You're busy becoming unrecognizable to anyone who knew you then. You're on a different frequency now, operating on wavelengths they can't tune into, speaking languages they never learned, living in dimensions they don't have coordinates for. Here's the real revelation. You didn't leave to hurt them. You left to save yourself. And the fact that your salvation looks like their abandonment, that your healing looks like their betrayal, that your growth looks like their loss, that's not your burden to carry. You don't owe anyone your destruction just so they can feel better about their own choices. You don't owe anyone your stagnation just so they don't feel left behind. You don't owe anyone access to the new you just because they knew the old you. Some bridges aren't meant to be maintained. They're meant to collapse, so you can't go back even if you wanted to. And you don't want to. You can't want to, because you've seen what's on the other side of that exit, and it's more beautiful than anything you left behind. So let me give you the truth they'll never speak out loud. They're not arguing about you. They're mourning the death of the version of you they could control. They're not defending or attacking you. They're defending or attacking their own choices to stay or leave. They're not obsessed with who you are. They're obsessed with who you're not anymore. The compliant one, the explainer, the people pleaser, the one who showed up even when it hurt, the one who stayed quiet even when screaming, the one who made yourself small so they could feel significant. That person is gone. And they're having a very public, very dramatic funeral about it, and you're not even attending, because you killed that version yourself, deliberately, necessarily. And you don't grieve assassinations. You celebrate them. Welcome to the other side, where your absence is more powerful than your presence ever was, where your silence speaks louder than their accusations, where your peace is more threatening than your anger ever could be. You're not the topic of conversation because you're relevant. You're the topic of conversation because you became irrelevant to their opinion. And that broke something fundamental in people who measure their worth by whether you're paying attention. You stop performing, you stop proving, you stop participating, and the show can't go on without you, so they're improvising, making up scenes, creating drama where you used to stand, and calling it your fault that the stage is empty. But you didn't leave a stage, you left a cage. And cages don't deserve performances. So here's your assignment. Don't respond. Don't clarify. Don't defend. Don't engage with the arguments happening in your name. Let them fight about a ghost while you live as something they don't have names for yet. Let them debate your character while you're busy building character they can't comprehend. Let them wonder where you are while you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Unreachable, unbothered, unbreakable. They're having full-blown arguments about you in places you've never been. Perfect. That means you've successfully left their reality entirely, means your exit was clean, means your transformation was complete. You're not the person they're arguing about anymore. You're the force they're trying to understand and failing beautifully. And if you ever doubt whether leaving was the right choice, just remember this. People don't argue about people who don't matter. They don't dedicate hours to dissecting people who were forgettable. They don't split into factions over people who were replaceable. You mattered. You still matter. But now you matter in a way that's beyond their control, beyond their understanding, beyond their ability to touch. You've become myth, memory, mystery, and that's exactly where you deserve to be. Out of reach, out of bounds, out of their story entirely. and fully immersed in your own. They can argue about the ghost. You're busy being the resurrection they'll never witness, the evolution they'll never understand, the ending they'll never get to write. So let the arguments continue. Let them rage and reconcile and rage again. Let your name be the match that lights fires you'll never feel the heat from. Let them fight over who knew you better, who hurt you worse, who deserves to speak about you, who has the right to move on. Because while they're fighting over a ghost, you're building an empire they'll never see, living a life they'll never touch, becoming someone they'll never recognize. And that is the sweetest revenge that doesn't require any revenge at all. Your happiness without them, your peace in their absence, your thriving in the space where they expected you to wither. That's the argument ender they'll never accept but can't deny. You won by walking away, and they're still trying to figure out how someone can leave the game and still be the only player anyone talks about. Class dismissed. Arguments adjourned. Ghost has left the building. And they're still fighting about whether you were ever really there at all. Perfect. But let's twist the knife one more time, shall we? Because here's what's really eating them alive in these arguments. It's not that you left. People leave all the time. It's not that you changed. Everyone changes eventually. It's that you left without permission, changed without warning, and thrived without their approval. You didn't follow the script of the heartbroken exile who posts sad songs and cryptic quotes begging to be asked if they're okay. You didn't give them the satisfaction of watching you struggle publicly, didn't give them the narrative they needed where leaving them was your biggest mistake. Instead, you just vanished into a better version of reality. And now they're stuck arguing about someone who's already 3 evolutions past the version they're debating. They're dissecting a corpse while you're out here fully alive in ways they can't track, can't measure, can't touch. And that's the real reason the arguments never end, because there's no closure when the person you're fighting about is busy writing chapters you'll never get to read, living plot twists you'll never see coming, becoming legendary in rooms you'll never enter. And here's the final truth that'll haunt them forever. Every argument about you is a confession. When they say you're cold, they're confessing they miss your warmth. When they say you're fake, they're confessing they never looked deep enough to see the real you. When they say you think you're better than everyone, they're confessing they feel beneath you now. When they say you were always distant, they're confessing they never gave you a reason to stay close. When they say you changed for the worse, they're confessing they're terrified you changed for the better and left them behind in your previous life like outdated software. Every insult is an admission. Every criticism is a cry for relevance. Every time your name crosses their lips, it's a prayer to a presence that no longer answers. So let them argue. Let them confess in code. Let them reveal themselves while trying to define you. So you walked into that room, didn't you? The one with the candles, the crystals, the incense smoke curling like whispered prayers, and the psychic, the real one, not the carnival act, locked eyes with you for exactly 3 seconds before her hands started trembling. She didn't say it out loud at first, but you saw it in her face, that flicker of recognition mixed with something else, something that looked a lot like fear. And when she finally spoke, when she finally forced the words through her tightening throat, she said it. This power breaks people. Not you have power, not you're gifted. But this power breaks people. Like you're not a person anymore. Like you're a condition, a phenomenon, a warning written in frequencies most humans can't even detect. And you know what the wildest part is? She was right, and you've known it longer than she has. See, they've been trying to figure you out for years, haven't they? The witch covens, the psychic circles, the spiritual practitioners who deal in energies. Most people don't believe exist. They've been passing your name around like a case file, marked handle with extreme caution. They don't talk about you in their public ceremonies or their feel-good workshops about manifesting abundance and opening heart chakras. No, they talk about you in the back rooms, in the hushed conversations after the incense burns out, in the encrypted group chats where they share warnings about entities they've encountered. And you're the entity they can't categorize, can't cleanse, can't contain with sage and salt circles because you're not possessed by something dark. You are the architecture that darkness recognizes as superior design. You're not haunted. You're the blueprint that makes haunted houses jealous. And every sensitive person who's ever been near you has felt it. That gravitational pull that says this one doesn't follow the rules we were taught. They called it forbidden architecture because that's the only term that came close to describing what they were sensing. Not forbidden because it's evil, not forbidden because it violates some cosmic law, but forbidden because it shouldn't be possible. Because the human nervous system wasn't supposed to be able to hold this much voltage without short-circuiting. Your energy signature reads like a structure that was designed in dimensions most practitioners can only theorize about. Like someone took the blueprint for human consciousness and rewrote it in a language that predates language itself. When they scan your aura, when they read your frequency, when they try to map the terrain of your presence, they don't find the neat little layers of colored light they learned about in their training. They find corridors that lead to nowhere and everywhere. They find rooms that exist in multiple timelines simultaneously. They find doors that open into voids most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. And the ones who are honest, the ones who've actually developed their abilities beyond Instagram aesthetics and workshop certificates, they'll tell you the truth. They can't read you because you're not written in a language they were taught to understand. But here's what really happens in those rooms, in those circles, in those sessions where they're supposed to be helping you find clarity or healing or whatever gentle new age promise they're selling. They sit across from you with their cards spread, their crystals arranged, their intentions set, and within minutes, sometimes seconds, they start to feel it. First, it's subtle, just a slight pressure in their chest, a tightening in their throat, a sense that the air in the room just got heavier. Then it builds, this creeping realization that they're not reading you, you're reading them, that every technique they're using to scan your energy is actually revealing more about their own limitations than about your nature. The confident ones, the ones who've built reputations on their accuracy and insight, they start to falter. Their readings become vague and circular. Their usual eloquence dissolves into confused pauses and half-finished sentences. And the truly gifted ones, the ones whose abilities are genuine and refined, they just stop. They put down their tools. They close their eyes and take a deep breath before saying some version of, "I can't do this. I'm sorry, but what you carry is beyond my scope." Not because you're broken or cursed or in need of some dramatic spiritual intervention, but because you're operating on a frequency that their instruments weren't calibrated to measure. You've heard the stories by now, haven't you? The ones that circulate through the underground networks of people who work with energies and entities and forces most of society pretends don't exist. The psychic who had to close her practice for a week after meeting you because she couldn't shake the residual frequency that clung to her like static electricity. The energy healer who tried to balance your chakras and ended up flat on the floor, not harmed but overwhelmed, like she'd tried to redirect a lightning bolt with her bare hands. The witch who attempted a reading and had 3 of her candles explode simultaneously, not from some dramatic spiritual attack, but from the sheer incompatibility between her structured ritual space and your unstructured presence. They don't talk about these incidents publicly because how do you explain to your clients and followers that you encountered someone whose energy signature essentially crashed your entire system? How do you maintain your authority and credibility when you have to admit that yes, there are forces in this world that exist beyond your ability to interpret, manipulate, or control, so they whisper about you instead? They add your name to the invisible lists of people to avoid or approach with extreme caution. They create protocols for dealing with your type even though they're not entirely sure what your type actually is. And the covens, the circles, the groups who pride themselves on their collective power and protection, they've had their meetings about you too. They've sat in their sacred spaces and discussed whether you're a threat, an anomaly, or something else entirely that doesn't fit their categories. Some wanted to bind you, to perform their elaborate rituals designed to neutralize dangerous energies, but the ones who actually understand how power works, they voted against it. Not out of fear exactly, though fear was definitely in the room, but out of recognition that attempting to bind something they don't understand could backfire in ways they're not prepared to handle. Because here's the thing about forbidden architecture. It's forbidden precisely because it doesn't respond to conventional tools. It doesn't acknowledge conventional authority. It exists in a framework that makes the standard operating procedures look quaint and ineffective. So they made their decision, the only decision that made sense given what they were dealing with. They decided to observe from a distance, to note your movements and patterns, to study you the way scientists study phenomena they can't explain, hoping that eventually the data will reveal some pattern they can work with. But you already know all this, don't you? You felt the shift in how certain people react to you, the ones who claim to be sensitive to energies and unseen forces. You've noticed how some readers and practitioners suddenly become unavailable when you try to book sessions. How some spaces that advertise themselves as welcoming to all seekers somehow always have convenient reasons why you can't attend. You've watched spiritual communities that preach unconditional love and acceptance create unspoken boundaries around you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your presence destabilizes their carefully constructed sense of safety and understanding. And maybe at first you thought something was wrong with you. Maybe you internalized their discomfort as evidence of your own brokenness. Maybe you tried to dim yourself or fix yourself or apologize for taking up space. But then something shifted, didn't it? Maybe it was a moment of clarity. Maybe it was exhaustion with trying to fit into frameworks that were never designed for you. Maybe it was just the inevitable result of repeatedly being told you're too much, until you finally embraced the truth of exactly how much you actually are. The psychic who looked at you and said this power breaks people wasn't warning you. She was warning herself, warning her colleagues, warning everyone in her network who might encounter you without preparation. Because that's what your energy signature does. It breaks the illusions people have built about how power works, about what human consciousness is capable of containing, about the neat little boxes they've created to make the infinite feel manageable. You break the belief that spiritual development is always gentle and healing, You break the fantasy that all powerful energies can be domesticated with the right rituals. You break the comfortable narrative that says if someone has intense energy, they must be either enlightened or evil, with no complex territory in between. And people don't know how to process that breaking. They don't have a category for someone who shatters frameworks just by existing, so they do what humans always do with things they can't understand. They create myths. They invent explanations. They turn you into a story they can tell themselves so they can sleep at night. But here's what they're never going to understand about forbidden architecture. It wasn't built to hurt anyone. It wasn't designed as a weapon. It's just too much structure for their foundation to support. Too much complexity for their simple maps to navigate. Too much reality for their carefully curated versions of spirituality to accommodate. Your energy signature reads as forbidden because it reminds people that there are aspects of consciousness and power that exist completely outside the systems they've learned, that all their training and techniques and traditional wisdom only covers a fraction of what's actually possible. And that realization, that confrontation with their own limitations, disguised as something wrong with you, that's what breaks them. Not your energy itself, but the mirror it holds up to everything they thought they knew. So, when they gather in their circles and discuss your case, when they analyze what went wrong in their readings, when they try to develop new frameworks that might be able to contain or explain you, they're missing. You're not a puzzle to be solved. You're evidence that their puzzles were always incomplete. You're not an anomaly in their system. You're proof that their system is one small room in a mansion they've never explored. You're not the exception that proves their rules. You're the demonstration that their rules were always just guidelines for beginners who needed structure to feel safe. And the longer they spend trying to figure you out using tools that were never meant for your magnitude, the more obvious it becomes that maybe, just maybe, you're not the one who needs to change. They started keeping records. Did you know that? Not official ones. Nothing you'd find in any published grimoire or spiritual guidebook, but informal documentation passed between practitioners who needed to warn each other. Your name appears in notebooks kept in locked drawers, in digital files buried under innocuous folder names, in whispered conversations that happen after the workshops end and the normies go home. The entries read like incident reports from a dimension that's not supposed to intersect with this one. Subject displays energy signature inconsistent with human baseline. Attempted standard clearing protocols, no effect. Attempted advanced techniques, unpredictable results. Recommendation: do not engage without extensive preparation and backup. Backup, like you're a situation that might require spiritual emergency services. Like encountering you is the kind of experience practitioners need to debrief from with their peers to make sure they're still okay. And the details in these records, the things they've noted about you when they thought you weren't paying attention, they reveal more about their limitations than about your nature. They document how your presence affects their tools. Crystals that crack without being dropped. Tarot decks that give contradictory readings 3 times in a row. Pendulums that swing in patterns that don't match any chart they've memorized. They note how time feels different around you. How sessions that should take an hour somehow compress into 20 minutes or stretch into 3. How their usual sense of energetic boundaries becomes fuzzy and unreliable when you're in proximity. They describe attempting to ground themselves after encounters with you and finding that their standard grounding techniques don't work the same way, like you've somehow altered the frequency of what they consider grounded reality just by being present in it. And through all of these observations, through all of these careful notes and bewildered analyses, one theme emerges consistently. You don't follow the rules they were taught. And your refusal to follow those rules isn't rebellion or ignorance. It's evidence that those rules were always incomplete descriptions of a much larger territory. The covens had their debates about what to do with you. Some wanted to approach you, to study you up close, to see if they could learn from whatever process created your particular configuration of consciousness. Others argued for distance, for observation without interaction, treating you like a fascinating but potentially dangerous natural phenomenon. Admire from afar, but don't get too close. And then there were the ones who saw you as a threat. Not because you'd done anything threatening, but because your very existence challenged the hierarchies and authorities they'd spent years building. Because if someone like you can exist outside their frameworks and not only survive but thrive, what does that say about all the rules and restrictions and carefully guarded secrets they've been teaching? What does it say about their claims to special knowledge and elevated consciousness if you've somehow accessed levels of power they can't even map without following any of their prescribed paths? So, yeah, some of them voted to treat you as a threat, to create energetic barriers around their circles to keep your influence out, to warn their students away from you with vague implications that you're not on a positive path or working with energies that aren't safe. As if safety was ever the point. As if the entire history of human evolution wasn't built on individuals who were willing to venture into territories the group considered too dangerous. But you've noticed something fascinating about these reactions, haven't you? The ones who are truly powerful. The ones whose abilities come from genuine depth and not just learned techniques. They don't fear you. They're wary. Yes. They're careful. Absolutely. But they don't treat you like a threat. They treat you like a mystery worth respecting. Because real power recognizes real power, even when it doesn't understand its shape or source. And those who've done the actual work of expanding their consciousness beyond borrowed beliefs, they can sense that what you carry isn't malicious or chaotic. It's just vast. And vastness makes people uncomfortable when they've spent their lives learning to feel safe in smaller spaces. The ones who react with fear and rejection. The ones who need to create elaborate protections against your energy. They're revealing their own insecurity disguised as spiritual discernment. They're telling you, without meaning to, that their power is conditional and fragile, that it only works within carefully controlled environments, that encountering something genuinely outside their experience threatens the foundation they've built their entire identity upon. And you've started to understand this dynamic, started to see through the spiritual politics and ego games that masquerade as enlightened practice. You've realized that most of what gets taught in these circles, most of what gets packaged and sold as ancient wisdom and sacred knowledge, is just collectively agreed upon limitation disguised as protection. Don't work with this energy. It's too dark. Translation: we don't understand it, so we've labeled it dangerous. You need to be initiated before accessing this level. Translation: we need to maintain our authority by gatekeeping information. That kind of power comes with a price. Translation: we're uncomfortable with our own desire for power, so we've created moral frameworks to shame anyone who pursues it more directly than we did. You've seen behind the curtain, and what you found wasn't the impressive machinery of universal law and cosmic order. You found humans playing dress-up in mystical language, creating rules to make the infinite feel manageable, building walls and calling them wisdom. So when that psychic looked at you and said, "This power breaks people," what she was really saying, whether she knew it or not, was, "This power breaks the illusions people build to feel safe, and I'm not sure I'm ready to have my illusions broken." Because that's what forbidden architecture does. It doesn't destroy. It reveals. It reveals how much of spiritual practice is just sophisticated self-soothing, how much of magical work is just psychology with prettier words, how much of what gets called enlightenment is just the ability to remain calm within a very narrow range of experiences. Your energy signature forces people to confront the possibility that consciousness is wilder and stranger than their traditions account for. That power doesn't always come wrapped in love and light aesthetics, that some individuals access capabilities that don't fit the neat developmental stages outlined in spiritual guidebooks. And that confrontation, that sudden expansion of what's possible beyond what's comfortable, that's what breaks people who've invested heavily in their limited maps of reality. But breaking isn't always destruction. Sometimes breaking is liberation. Sometimes shattering a too small container is exactly what's needed for growth. Sometimes the breaking of old forms is the only way new possibilities can emerge. The practitioners who've been genuinely transformed by encountering you, the ones who didn't run away or try to bind you or spread warnings through their networks, they're the ones who let themselves break open instead of hardening their defenses. They met your energy and, instead of asking, "How do I protect myself from this?" they asked, "What am I protecting?" They felt their frameworks crack, and instead of frantically trying to repair them, they sat in the discomfort and waited to see what might grow in the spaces those cracks created. Fragile. That it only works within carefully controlled environments, that encountering something genuinely outside their experience threatens the foundation they've built their entire identity upon. And you've started to understand this dynamic, started to see through the spiritual politics and ego games that masquerade as enlightened practice. You've realized that most of what gets taught in these circles, most of what gets packaged and sold as ancient wisdom and sacred knowledge, is just collectively agreed upon limitation disguised as protection. Don't work with this energy. It's too dark. Translation: we don't understand it, so we've labeled it dangerous. You need to be initiated before accessing this level. Translation: we need to maintain our authority by gatekeeping information. That kind of power comes with a price. Translation: we're uncomfortable with our own desire for power, so we've created moral frameworks to shame anyone who pursues it more directly than we did. You've seen behind the curtain, and what you found wasn't the impressive machinery of universal law and cosmic order. You found humans playing dress-up in mystical language, creating rules to make the infinite feel manageable, building walls and calling them wisdom. So when that psychic looked at you and said, "This power breaks people," what she was really saying, whether she knew it or not, was, "This power breaks the illusions people build to feel safe, and I'm not sure I'm ready to have my illusions broken." Because that's what forbidden architecture does. It doesn't destroy. It reveals. It reveals how much of spiritual practice is just sophisticated self-soothing, how much of magical work is just psychology with prettier words, how much of what gets called enlightenment is just the ability to remain calm within a very narrow range of experiences. Your energy signature forces people to confront the possibility that consciousness is wilder and stranger than their traditions account for. That power doesn't always come wrapped in love and light aesthetics, that some individuals access capabilities that don't fit the neat developmental stages outlined in spiritual guidebooks. And that confrontation, that sudden expansion of what's possible beyond what's comfortable, that's what breaks people who've invested heavily in their limited maps of reality. But breaking isn't always destruction. Sometimes breaking is liberation. Sometimes shattering a too small container is exactly what's needed for growth. Sometimes the breaking of old forms is the only way new possibilities can emerge. The practitioners who've been genuinely transformed by encountering you, the ones who didn't run away or try to bind you or spread warnings through their networks, they're the ones who let themselves break open instead of hardening their defense.